Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen regular meeting for February is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item on the agenda is 1.2, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on January 15, 2019, and the special meeting held on January the 31st, 2019. Are there any corrections? No corrections?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. 1.3 is our public hearing. Item number 1, ordinance 19-01, an ordinance rezoning 2 lots, a total of 3.46 acres, located at Bradley Drive in the 9th Civil District from MRO, multiple residential and office, to district, let me back up, MRO, multiple residential and office district to RI, restrictive industrial. Is there anyone that would like to speak? If so, please come to the mic, state your name, and you have 2 minutes. No one would like to speak? Okay, that public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 2, ordinance 19-02, an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 1 of the City of Springfield Municipal Codes entitled Intoxicating Liquors, and Title 8, Chapter 2 entitled Beer. If there's anyone that would like to speak, please come to the mic. Public hearing is closed. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-01 on a second reading, an ordinance rezoning 2 lots, a total of 3.46 acres, located on Bradley Drive in the 9th Civil District, from MRO, multiple residential and office district, to RI, restrictive industrial. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-02 on a second reading, an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 1 of the City of Springfield Municipal Codes entitled Intoxicating Liquors, and Title 8, Chapter 2 entitled Beer to read as set forth in Exhibit A. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Holt, our city manager, would like to speak to this before we get started.
Okay, and one thing that was just pointed out that was inadvertently overlooked, this did pass first reading last month and it was not on this ordinance. This is second reading, and we will need to, you all will need to amend this. There are some minor corrections or revisions. One is in the numbering, and the other revisions from the first reading were in sections 4 and 5, and I will let Mr. Martin explain a little bit about what the changes are.
Okay, so the minor correction on the ordinance language is just a numbering error, but then the only 2 sections that were added with Exhibit A were 8-115 and 8-119.3. Of course, if you compare the language, it's updating, a lot of this is updating the state language to reflect the current wine situation and getting compliant with the new federal case law. So those are the only 2 changes to what you had on first reading.
Thank you.
So you want the motion to say that we amend and accept
Yes, you have to
115 and 19 together?
motion to amend it and approve it.
Okay.
And then,
Motion to amend and approve 8-115 and 8-119 in the revisional language.
Okay? There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Hand, do you have a question? No. Okay. Any questions? Call the row, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3.
You gotta go back.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping me straight. I'm
Introduce
just,
the motion.
okay, back to the main motion, as amended. No questions? Call the row, please.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 19-03 on a first reading, or ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 1.01 acres, located on Bradley Drive in the 9th Civil District from MRO, multiple residential and office districts, to MS Commercial Services. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please read this ordinance since it's the first reading.
Ordinance 19-03, an ordinance rezoning one lot, a total of 1.01 acres, tax map 92H, Group A, Parcel 12, located on Bradley Drive in the 9th Civil District from MRO Multiple Residential and Office District to CS Commercial Services. Whereas KT Construction LLC has requested 1.01 acres, a total of one lot, owned by KT Construction LLC, located on Bradley Drive, be rezoned from MRO Multiple Residential and Office District to CS Commercial Services. Whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the request and voted with a favorable recommendation for this property to be rezoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. One lot totaling 1.01 acres, owned by KT Construction LLC, located on Bradley Drive, tax map 92H, parcel 12 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, are hereby rezoned from MRO Multiple Residential and Office District to CS Commercial Services. This rezoning shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you, Ms. Brickles. Questions, gentlemen? No questions? Call the row, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 19-06, a resolution requesting MTAS to codify and revise the ordinances of the City of Springfield. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Questions, Ms. Holt? You want to
Just-
talk about this?
Yes, just so you have a little bit of an idea what this is. It has been since 1993, the last time we had a full recodification of all of our ordinances. And they recommend every 10 years, so we're a little behind. I think we did it in 2015, and that was our last update, so it's been over 4 years. We had 14,000 in the budget, so this is 13, so we've got $1,000 of savings right there.
Okay. Any questions? No questions? Call the row, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 19-07, a resolution accepting an irrevocable letter of credit for Poplar Ranch Virtues in the amount of $230,400 in order to guarantee the completion of streets, drainage, water, wastewater, and electrical improvements in the Eden Point subdivision Phase 1. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 19-08, a resolution declaring certain properties surplus and authorizing the disposal of such properties. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. We do this every month, so I Assuming you have no questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by TVA. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Going down, huh?
Mr. Gardner?
Going down 1.4% this month, Mayor.
Good direction.
Thank you, sir.
Any discussion? Call the roll quick.
Schneider. Harris.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
We like to pick on these two gentlemen, but that's just a pass-through, so just want the audience to know they don't control these rates. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Riddle?
Fortunately, the purchase gas adjustment's down 14.12% this month.
Thank you.
We had that,
You went,
that spike last month.
I was going to say, last month you were not good. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
3.3, discuss and possible take action on a proposal from retail coaches for retail recruitment. They will be giving a brief presentation. I think the screen will come down, and I will call on Mr. Will Klein.
Thank you, guys, and I've got a few handouts for the mayor and the board. And in respect of everyone's time, I know you got a lengthy agenda tonight. We're going to try to cruise through this thing rather quickly. So hopefully the handout, leaving you guys, leaving something behind will help quite a bit. And I want to introduce a few of my colleagues before I get started. Brought Caroline Hernsberger, who heads up our retail recruitment arm, and Austin Farmer, who is a marketing specialist. So I thank them for both coming. I'm going to ask them just to come up just quickly here in a minute. So we're the retail coach. We actively we identify retail prospects for communities, and we proactively recruit them. We have been working for a few months, I think, in constant communication with Gina and Ryan, and a meeting or two with David as well, and have been really appreciative of their time, and you know, we're really excited to get to present our services and our firm for the mayor and the entire board. So just a little bit about us. So we've been doing business for about 20 years now. So we started in 2000. On the screen there, you can see all the states that we actively work. We know Tennessee really well. We're headquartered out of Tupelo, Mississippi, but have an operation in Austin, Texas also. In those 19 years, we've worked in over 500 communities in 32 states. One thing that's really important, you see 88% of our clients do repeat business with us. So I think that it's really important for us to note that, you know, we work on, there's no multi-year requirement for working with a retail coach. A 12-month commitment up front. We think that our work will be satisfactory for you guys to help improve our 88% repeat client rate to get us above 90%. So really important to note that we want to partner with you for 12 months. Retail recruitment is a process and not necessarily an event, and we agree upon that. But we believe that in the first 12 months, you guys will be satisfied with the work that we've done, working closely with Gina and her office to proactively posture you guys in front of retailers, developers, and brokers active in sort of the greater Nashville MSA. A little bit about our team. That's me there. You guys will hear from Austin and Caroline earlier, but these are just solely members of our team who would be dedicated to y'all's project. And so we all have expertise in some capacity. Over 50 years of retailer and developer connections amongst all of us. We have no conflicts of interest, and I'll hop over to this slide. So we're consultants. We're not brokers. We act in the best interest of you guys. We act as an extension of your office, Mayor, or Gina's office, where we have the ability to go to brokers with no fear that we're gonna hop in or take any of their pie or money they may be able to earn on closing a deal here in town. And so you got to think of us as an extension of your office. And that really allows us to open a lot of doors and have conversations without causing any issues. A little about our 360 process here, which I'll get into in a little more detail. And again, Caroline and Austin are going to come up and talk some about a couple of these phases. Phase one, we need to know who you are. So we flew into Nashville, spent some time sort of the Rivergate Mall area, had coffee there, and so we know that that's some stiff competition for you guys. A couple of the other markets that surround you that we believe are competition meaning we believe that residents for the city of Springfield are leaving this market to go into some of these other markets to buy certain goods and services. So you would hire us to put a stop to that. Again, our job is to study you well enough to understand what it is that you need, what it is that you're missing, but also we need to know what some of your competition around you are offering. So we'll look closely at each of these markets. This is just from our perspective. Obviously, in conversations with city officials, we could probably identify a few other competing communities. This is an aerial of the city. The way that we identify your market, we've sort of identified 3 different retail districts. South end, I've got it sort of over Lowe's, Walmart area, sort of on 431. Then you got the central retail district, which I'm calling from sort of where Memorial and 431T sort of back towards the railroad track. And then everything across the railroad track, kind of downtown, I'm considering your downtown district. Each of these are unique. The South Retail District, the Lowe's and Walmart, you got Kroger down Memorial Boulevard is more of your regional draw area, whereas the Central District is a little more local. And then your downtown district obviously is hyper-local, where mainly local and independent retailers and restaurants that we'd target. One of the most important things is we're going to identify is how far people are willing to drive to come into Springfield. So we're going to look at your competing markets and what they have. Yeah, I don't know if we need to make a move on. Don't let this cut into my time, Ryan. Thank you. So not only are we going to identify competing communities and what they offer, but we want to know how far people are willing to drive to come into Springfield to shop. So that heat map looks like a big thunderstorm. It may be a live aerial of what's going on outside right now, but it's a density map to show how far people are willing to drive. I have a little pointer here, but you can see that people do drive across 24, and very rarely do they cross 65 to come into your market to shop. So what that tells me is that White House is a pretty strong pull. Goodlettsville, Hendersonville area has a strong pull as well. So what we want to do is identify your consumer base. We don't want to say that Springfield is just the city population of Springfield. We want to share that it's a consumer market, as I put on the board members' flyers here. We think it's a market that reaches over 60,000 people on a regular basis. We think that a secondary market, that reaches even further, extends even further. But with Clarksville to the west, Nashville sort of to the southeast, we think that this is a unique market. We think this is a market with Walmart and Lowe's and Kroger here that is self-sustaining. And we just want to capitalize on what we believe is a lot of opportunity because of the growth that's expected in the future. And you can see I just put a 15-minute drive time map here just so you can get an idea of how far away north, south, east, and west 15 minutes is from Springfield. So that gives you kind of a perspective of how big this density map is. Also in phase one, when we're identifying your market, we want to know a little bit about who's in that trade area. What's the shopping behaviors of those consumers? So we'll look at demographic data. We'll also look at psychographic, which is essentially demographics on steroids. So the image on the right here, this lifestyle segmentation, is sort of a psychographic breakdown. So although I may have the same demographic makeup as someone who I live in the same neighborhood as, we may be have completely different shopping behaviors. I may shop at Cabela's. The gentleman who lives next door to me may shop at Nordstrom's. I drive a truck, he might drive a BMW. And so we want to identify exactly who your BMW drivers are, who your truck drivers are, and every other characteristic that makes up the behaviors of those who live in that primary and secondary trade areas for your market. So once we identify all those things, we need to get some data that starts to support our arguments for why retailers need to be here. So in phase two, we're going to determine your retail opportunities, and we'll look at a gap analysis, which will start to identify certain retail sectors that this market is missing. This is really important, which gives us a guideline for what Caroline's going to come up and discuss, which will be the recruitment process. So this allows us to have a really good idea of who you're missing. We build out a match list that's very targeted for what you're missing. In phase three, we're going to identify sites, things that are in town that are that we believe are best for development or redevelopment. Now, we're partnered directly with the City of Springfield. We will show no favoritism whatsoever towards any one landowner or site owner. So for anyone who's here or anybody who owns land, we're going to look at your market through the eyes of a developer or a broker or a retailer, where it's our job to put sites that we know that they have had success on and been successful at in markets that they're already currently in. We want to present those type sites to them. So no favoritism. We work for the city, not for any private developer or private landowner. So our job is to proactively recruit retail for you guys. Sites play a really important role. Once we understand a little bit about who shops here, once we understand a little bit about what this market is missing, and once we have a pretty good idea of the sites that are available for development or redevelopment, we're going to build out a match list of retailers and restaurants that we believe are a good fit. We want to make sure that those sites fit this market. And so that's why conversations with Gina and Ryan, the mayor, and you guys are really important, because you do help steer that ship. Now, we will offer who we think the market's missing, which I've thrown a few of these folks up here that we've recruited before, so some of those names may excite you. I would like to call all of them to figure out what it would take to get them to Springfield. I think some of those are low-hanging fruit. And so our team is really excited to at least take a stab at these and some others. The next phase is phase 5. I'm going to ask Austin to come up and talk a little bit about our marketing process.
Thanks. So Will mentioned data, and there's really 3 parts to our process that make it valuable for a community. And the first part is data, and that's about the first 3 months of our process. But really from there, what sets us apart and what helps us recruit retailers and developers to your community is marketing and retailer recruitment. And so marketing, data is fantastic, and we have great data. We now have data that comes from GPS information from shoppers' cell phones, so we really know what your community looks like and where people are coming to shop from. But it's really important to get out in front of retailers and developers, and so we really place a huge emphasis on marketing. So we build marketing and branding packets not only for your community as a whole to highlight that data that we found to really draw attention to the community, but we also put those together for retailers and developers. So we know that if we're targeting a specific retailer, we're going to put together a data packet and a marketing package that not only helps them understand the opportunity that's actually in Springfield, but is going to highlight some of the reasons they should be in the community. And then we're actually going to go out and try to use that information to get in front of them and have a conversation with them and ultimately hopefully get them to the market. And so that's really important for us. That includes a couple of different things. So we put together a retail market profile, so something that you can use and that we help you use at events like the International Council of Shopping Centers conferences. There's one coming up in May called the Recon Conference. And so we take things like your retail market profile out there so we can get those in front of people. Retailer marketing packages, like I mentioned. Developer packages. A lot of times a retailer will come to a market because a developer has started a project or is driving a project. And so we want to get interest from developers as well. So we put together marketing packages that really speak to what developers are looking for. Specific available land or available sites, things that are really going to excite them about the community. And then we provide GIS data and a site platform as well. So you can share that digitally with prospects or anyone that might be looking at the community. These are a couple of examples of some retailer packets we put together. So typically what we'll do is we'll customize those packets specifically to the retailer that we're looking for. So example in the upper left-hand corner, McAllister's Deli, we put together a retail feasibility study for them in a market to say, hey, we think you should really be in this market, and here's why we think so, here's where your local stores are, here's what the market opportunity is, and that helps us get to the table and talk to their site selectors, their brokers, and really help them understand what opportunity there is in the community. This is an example of a retail market profile. So what we do is we really highlight the selling points for the community. Will mentioned a retail trade area. Has anyone heard that term before, retail trade area? It's essentially where people are coming from to shop in your community. We really, really want to sell Springfield as a retail trade area, not just a city limits or a population. Or the population of your city limits. We really want to sell that there are people coming in from outside of the community to shop and dine here in Springfield. I mentioned a GIS mapping platform. This is just an example of some of the digital tools that we have. We put together what's called a Retail 360 dashboard for you that you can actually share with any contacts or prospects that you have, whether that be a retailer, developer. You can send links. There's sites on there, and that just really highlights a lot of the information about the community, population density, population growth, It includes a lot of those metrics that retailers and developers look at. And then I'll actually hand it off to Caroline. Caroline handles our recruitment, and she'll tell you a little bit about our process.
Hey. So thanks again so much, you guys, for letting us come speak to you tonight. I want to tell you a little bit about how we handle the recruitment, because we've talked a lot about all the steps leading up to recruitment, but now how do we get the actual retailers interested in Springfield? And so what we do is we have, and I think this sets us apart from our competitors, we have our own database of retail contacts. And so what Will and I and Austin and our team would work together to do is, once we look at this gap analysis and we look at who's in the market, who isn't in the market, what sectors y'all can, what sectors would do well here, we come up with a list of retailers that would do well long-term. And bring long-term profitability. And then we send that back to you guys, get some feedback, go over it, and then from that list of retailers, we actively target them. Now, on the back of your sheet that Will handed out earlier, that's kind of an example of retailers that we would like to see here. Such a good example that we think that Hardee's should be here, and they already are, but that's how good we are. We know who's good in the market. But anyway, we come up with a list of these retailers, and then we actively target them. And by actively target them, I mean we start sending them these market materials. We have all of their contacts, and we subscribe to these databases that you guys could pay a fortune to subscribe to, and that our competitors subscribe to. And those databases give us the real estate territory manager maybe for Hobby Lobby, or who's over the state of Tennessee for McDonald's, so on and so forth, maybe who their brokers are. But this business is constantly changing, and one day I'll email somebody who works for Subway, and they'll email me back and say, hey, I work for Dunkin' Donuts now. So it's constantly changing, so we've created our own database also. And so where those don't get updated as well, we've got that, and then we've got those contacts. So I'm in constant contact with them, as well as my team, that when we contact them, when we send them a market and we say, hey guys, I really want you to look at this market, then it's not just, you know, the 100th email that they've gotten from a city that day. It's someone that they know and they respect our opinion, and they know that when we send them an email, we're going to send them an email with exactly what they need. Sometimes I may just go ahead and pick up the phone and call a retailer because I know they're more responsive by phone. Sometimes I'll text them, sometimes I'll email them. Retailers may want sites right off the bat, and as Will said, we've got these site profiles of the best sites that we know that are most marketable, based on the dimensions, based on the square footage, based on what they need and traffic counts that they require for whatever the retailer is. Maybe they want an end cap drive-through, maybe they need, you know, a huge square footage for a home improvement store or something like that. And so we know right away what sites we're going to send them and what marketing materials that we're going to send. So, you know, there are a lot of different ways that we do it. We cater to the retailer, how our process works. For some retailers I mentioned, you know, we may start out with an email, follow up in a couple weeks to a couple months. We may go ahead and start hitting them with text messages or phone calls. So that's how we do that. If we'll go ahead and skip to if I will go ahead and skip to the next slide. The other thing that I wanted to mention is we also do this in person. And so today, for example, I'm here talking to you guys. When I leave Nashville tomorrow, I'm going to go to Denver to an ICSC conference. Austin mentioned a few minutes ago that we have this big national conference in May for all of the retailers to attend nationally, but we also have regional conferences. And so two that specifically would be representative of Tennessee would be ICSC Carolinas. Sounds crazy, but it'd be the same real estate regional territory managers there, and then ICSC Southeast, which is in Atlanta every year. At the end of the week, I'll go to one in Denver that represents four states there. And again, sometimes it's some of these same people, and so I'll be running into them face to face over and over, and they'll see my face and then they'll recognize my email come across, and I'm able to just constantly hit them with these markets. And so that's how we really actively recruit them. And the best thing that we can hear is, you know what, I like this market, it really looks great, I'm going to go ahead and send it to my franchisee that's in Nashville and tell him I want him to get his broker to look into it. Or, you know, I really like this market, we've already built out everything that we can do for 2019, we're going to try to get this on the top of our list of 2020. So those are the responses that we love to hear. And Will, I'm going to go and pass it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. Just two more. So phase 7. After we've done a lot of the research on the community, we know that retail is the retail environment's hard on Main Street, and so we want to come in and present our findings of what we've learned about these markets to your local and independent shop owners. We think it's a really good way for the city to show that, hey, look, we didn't hire a firm to make business development or growth even harder on Main Street. We want to make it a little easier. So we have access to a lot of information and a lot of things that we believe that your current shop owners and those who may have an interest in opening businesses here might want to look at. And so we do that in the form of a workshop where we'll come in and host maybe something before work and something maybe after work in the same day to give people an opportunity to show up who might find some of the information that we've learned about Springfield interesting. And lastly, Phase 8 is just coaching and ongoing support. So you got to view us as your economic development partner. We're an extension of the mayor's office. We work for you guys. Again, I want to reiterate, a 12-month partnership where the opportunity for us to be held accountable from you, from the city. We have a very active conversation or communication process with hopefully Ryan and Gina. That is important because we believe that if you don't know what's going on with the retail coach, you may be frown upon what's going on. So if you're not in on it or up on it, you may be down on it to something that we say at the retail coach. So we stay in constant communication. But the last slide I have here is just my name and contact information. So if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out, and we'll stick around for anything after the board meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have questions? Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions while we're on the subject? Mr. Harris?
In your letter to us, Ms. Hope said that you talked with some other companies that were similar in pricing, but you felt that they were the better fit. What was your reasoning?
Well, just based on presentations and what they're doing, the retail coach was very thorough. They laid out a very detailed plan. Even though we have been talking to them for a while and they don't have any commitments from us, they have actually called a time or two and said, well, we actually know somebody that would be interested in coming to this market anyway. And so they're being assertive, aggressive, and in the right way. And the other two, one was the retail strategies, which we just did not renew their contract last year. We've been a year without a contract. And so therefore we've had a void and no one's been working on our behalf. And the other one just wasn't quite as promising. So we all three of us, Dave Brewer, Ryan Martin, and myself, agreed that the retail coach was the better fit for us.
Is there money in the budget?
There's $20,000 in the current budget, and this is $35,000. $25,000 would be, let's see, I think, yeah, 25. We have $20,000. We would pay $25,000 this fiscal year, so we would have to find $5,000 from operating, and then the rest of it we would have to put in next year's budget. But we do have $20,000 in this year's budget, and like I've said. It's a specialty. It's a field that you have to be networked in. We can't just go and call. We've tried this in the past, and the chamber knows. Jordan knows. You can't just try to get appointments with the people. You have to have somebody representing you that knows what they're doing. They have to have the contacts. They have to be able to text. They have to be able to know the contact information. So it's something that we really need. And at the strategic planning session, we had talked about possibly having a position, a public relations person or somebody to represent us at several different levels, whether it was retail, economic development, or whatever. But we can do that. But we have a year here that we need to get going rather quickly. And it would take us a while to get somebody on staff with the qualifications and get them up to speed. So even if we want to look at that route, I think that we need to contract with, I would highly recommend using the retail coach.
Okay.
My wife would be ecstatic to know they work with Hobby Lobby. So.
And we didn't put them up to that.
Your wife would be real excited for Hobby Lobby in town. And we all know if we don't grow our retail market and it continues to go down the ridge, to Hendersonville, Nashville. This is the only way we're gonna grow, is grow our retail. That's how we get more money for all these projects we've talked about. Yes, sir, Mr. Hubbard.
Yes, ma'am, and not being facetious, but I talked to 5 people that really want us, these was moms, that really want us to get a Hobby Lobby. And so,
I have a list.
yeah, no, really, and I go along with it because we have a lot of autistic people here and our children and stuff are very creative, we need it. We talked about this extensively, and I'm tired of procrastinating, so I want to make a motion
Okay.
that we, can I say draft up a contract?
Well, I think
Oh, they have the
there's a
contract.
contract in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so how you want, I want to accept this.
That we would have, that you all would have
Execute
approved.
a contract.
I make a motion that we would accept the contract from Retail Coach for retail recruitment for the city of Springfield.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any more discussion? Mr.
Yes.
Sneed?
Mr. Hubbard, how much is the contract's value?
She already explained.
You made the motion to approve, I just thought maybe you know what the value was.
I think,
Like she,
It was 36,500.
right.
36,500. It's also the addendum in there to pay for travel expenses. It's somewhat open, when I see that. I'm not trying to be, throw a wet towel on this, but the sales pitch that I just heard was similar to what we had a few years ago. Of course, that was a much more open contract, a much more defined contract and long-term. This is annual. It would be better. But we're hiring them to market Springfield, but they're already representing Gallatin. I don't know how, being that close, with a client that close, how they could properly represent us as well. And I'm looking at their brochure that's in there, and that's on the computers here. And they have five testimonials from 2010, 2012, and I've looked at the ones that don't have dates attached to the testimonials, and the people whose names are attached to it, the mayors and the economic developers, are no longer there. So if they're going to represent us, how are they representing themselves when we've got testimonials that many years old, and the brochure that they passed out has restaurants and things that we already have? So to just kind of bring things full circle, that
Okay.
maybe you didn't see, I kind of caught that.
all right. Any more, Mr. Sneed?
No.
Other questions from this side of the room? Mr. Hood? Mr. Gregg?
No.
Mr. Hubbard?
We need to move on in this direction. I only saw one restaurant on there that we already have, and I think they're in negotiation. But you have to understand, there's still, as he explained, it's just 60,000, that's 60,000 possible shopping, am I correct?
Yes.
And I see that. I see that, even though Gallatin might be competitive, but I'm looking at, may I just say this, I'm looking at from here to Russellville, Kentucky, all the way over to the Guthrie area, and then down. So we still have that. And then northern Cheatham County, and portions of western Montgomery County. So we have the market. And to sit here and try to say not to market us, understand me, is really not portraying the vision that we should have as leaders, okay? So, leaders lead, leaders don't follow. So as a leader, I want to lead into this, okay?
Okay. Mr. Harris?
The contract is for 35,000, correct? And then a
35
possible
plus up to
up to
1,500 in
for reimbursement of
reimbursables.
expenses. I can't say that I see Gallatin as competition to us.
No.
Our main competition is White House and Pleasant View, and they're not working with either of them. They have interstate, we don't. And if we sit and do nothing, then we're not gonna get anything. So
We're gonna get we're gonna just die on the vine, and here's the thing, if we grow our retail and we're able to use this company for a year, evaluate where they've taken us in a year's time, these are people that would have never talked to us. And we've got to grow. And we know that you drive through the parking lots, whether it is at the Legacy Golf Course or our restaurants, we are having people from Kentucky. You go into the restaurants and they're from Ashland City, and you're talking to people sitting all the way around you, and they're from all the communities around here, and we have got to step up and take advantage of that. Yes, sir.
Last comment. Regentrification from Nashville is gonna get us, and I just noticed on my street, one already moved in, there's another moving in from the Nashville area. So they're coming, and we have to build that field of dreams.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes. Okay.
Our Chamber of Commerce has a $500,000 budget, $500,000, right in that, give or take a little bit. What are these people going to do for 30,000 plus some change, or 36.5, that we're already paying through membership dues and hotel motel taxes, and the Industrial Development Board's paying $25,000 rent for their conference room to meet every other month, 6 times a year? What is this group going to do that we're paying a Chamber of Commerce $500,000 to do?
Okay. Ms. Holt?
Well, for one thing, I don't think the Chamber's budget's $500,000. I think it's
Thank
probably
you.
closer to, it's under 200,000, isn't it? And that's for everything, including salaries. So the economic development is separate, and it's not as much retail. It's more for the industry. And then as far as what we talked about earlier with the Gallatin, they also represent Bowling Green, Kentucky. And so we did discuss that, and they promise, and they deal with this in other areas, that they're not going to do anything to hurt one area at the expense of another. And so they made that perfectly clear that should not be a problem. There would not be any conflicts.
Well, and having been to college in Bowling Green, that's a different market, totally different market. And if we can get some of the same things they have, that would be amazing. Some more retail, spend our money at home, and be able to grow our services. Yes, sir.
One thing that, I'm not gonna argue with you, we have to look out for the City of Springfield, where the Chamber of Commerce is really for all of the other cities of the county. Now,
Including us.
Yes, and we included, but yet and still, this is our baby.
Yeah.
And the vision that we're making up here, the decision we're making up here, is specifically for Springfield. So I don't want to sit back and be selfish, because we have to spend, you have to spend some money in order to make some money. That's
Okay.
business, so that's.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
for that.
Hubbard. Mr. Snee.
The predecessor to this group, they had a contract offer of pay them quid pro quo if they brought a retail, or we had an option to pay them money outright. And we chose the outright option, where White House on our predecessor chose the quid pro quo. We didn't renew, White House didn't renew. Since you negotiated this with Ryan, was there any quid pro quo payments to this group if they were successful?
Oh, no.
So it's just,
It's flat out, the 35,000
So-
for the 1 year.
Okay.
I would feel better if it was a quid pro quo, because it didn't work out very well the last time. We spent a lot of money.
All right. Other questions, discussions?
I think we need a vote, because we beat this horse to death.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
No.
Gregg. Harris.
Yes.
Passed 6-1.
Thank you. 3.4, discuss and possible take action on options presented by the city attorney regarding egress and egress of Duke Court, Morningside. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. City Attorney, Miss Christie Barty.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have done, and my firm has done, some extensive research on this matter. And last month, you all tasked us with determining whether or not the city had the ability, standing, to sue the property owners to force the repair of Duke Drive and Tennessee Trail. After that research was completed, we have determined that at this point in time, we do not have that standing. This is based on the fact that the harm by the damaged road is the responsibility of those property owners. And the property owners are those that are suffering the damages. At this time, the city has not suffered any damages. I'm not saying that as time goes on, the city could not suffer damage. There might be a public health or safety issue that arises. But at this time, I cannot in good faith say that we have standing to sue.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Barty? Okay. We will move on. 3.5.
Can I just ask?
Yes, Ms. Holt.
Okay, we have discussed this a lot. We've presented many different options. Can I just assume now, and for the record, that the decision is to do nothing, which is a decision, and that this is going away because you all made the decision not to do anything?
Correct.
I want to be clear.
Yes.
Okay.
We can't,
This is a property owner that's got his hand up.
we can't. It's not an open meeting for questions.
We ask him to speak?
Okay. 3.5, discuss and possible take action on the request from Alderman Sneed regarding the IRS Form 4506-T related to nonprofit organizations receiving city funds. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve 3.5.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Sneed.
This is in addition to the minimum state requirements that the 501c and nonprofits would be required to submit in their requests for assistance and taxpayer funds that we give each year. It just helps us as a board shine light on what we're giving the money to.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Head?
Is this something we would file every year to get the transcript of the tax return?
That
In
would
addition to the tax return?
this would be when the charities request revenue, there's a requirement, there's a state requirement of things that they have to provide. And then those are the minimum.
Okay.
And a few years ago, we added the Form 990, that passed unanimous. But this would be a step further towards shedding more light on what's going on with the organizations that are seeking these funds.
Are we seeking to verify that the tax return that we were given is the tax return filed?
No, this is additional information in addition to what's on the 990.
Ms. Holt,
Okay. Mr. Hubbard?
Ms. Holt, you have any?
I was not familiar with this form, and Mr. Sneed is the one that requested it, and just from what I've looked up on the IRS website is all I know, and that's what you have in your packet. I think it allows you as a board to go in and look at more of the details that are not included in the 990, as Alderman Sneed said, and I think you can get into more of the specifics as far as expenditures and revenue coming in. I just think it's a lot more detailed.
Okay.
But then I really feel that, it's more check and balance, so I'm gonna go along with it.
Mr. Harris, did you have a question?
I guess that would be my question, exactly what information is that you're asking for that we don't already receive? I mean, what else are we wanting to know?
We don't know what we don't know.
It doesn't answer my question, so.
Okay. Mr. Trotter?
I looked at it too, that ours, it just opened up the door to a lot of things, then. I mean, it's more or less looking to everybody else's salary and the whole, every city employee's salary and all that. Then wasn't it opened up to?
Not the
It wouldn't
cities
be
and
the city.
salaries.
It's
It would
the
be the
nonprofits.
Non-profits.
But you would be able to look at the salaries in nonprofits.
Do we have a need for that?
Well, sometime we will, because sometime administrative costs is, I mean, well, the administrators and sometimes employees cost are more than really the program costs. And out of our giving, we're giving more, and I think I'm on the line of Mrs. Sneed, we're giving more to make sure that the program is implemented. They're doing what they say they're gonna do, instead of paying some executive $50,000 and distributing $10,000 of work, Excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Trotter.
My
I'll
thing
come
is,
up.
I mean, if it's good for the city, it's great, but if it's a personal vendetta, I'm against it. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Harris, I'm gonna come to this side of the room.
You're asking then that this is an additional form you want them to submit that they're not presently submitting when they're asking for a donation from the
That's
city?
correct.
Okay? And we're already,
The,
we're already getting some of the forms.
But not-
The reason I brought this to attention is I came across a nonprofit that was paying $66,000, I believe was the figure, and it was listed as other, and I came to find out that's an employee. Don't know if it's their wife, don't know if it's their brother, don't know what this is for. Sounds like an awful lot of money for a nonprofit to be paying somebody and have it listed as other. This will let us know.
Okay? Other questions?
Does staff have a position on this?
I don't.
Okay? And our nonprofits are the Chamber, the YMCA, what am I missing?
Senior center?
United Ministries? See,
The Senior Center, the United Ministries, trying to think of the others off the top of my head. The YMCA. Can't think of the list of all of them right now.
Historical Society.
Historical Society.
okay, so the YMCA is gonna be in a corporate tax return.
There's his.
We're not gonna be able to tell. What's Robertson County, correct?
Theirs is all rolled
There's all in
up.
corporate.
It is.
Well, every corporate separate office has its own charter. It is, like I'm in a union. Every union has its own, it would have its own.
I don't think we do at the Y.
It would have its own labor management code number for just that office or branch.
Okay, so, and Ms. Crockett, can you answer the question of what do we receive now in the 990? We can see the highest paid salary, is that correct? I need to be brushed up on this.
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the actual 990 form, but there are different limits as to when you have to put the key employees' salaries on there or the key officers. It just depends on the number of employees and then the dollar value of their salaries as well.
I personally would like to see what the 990, because I need to be refreshed.
pull
I
it
can't
up.
quite remember when we look at this every year. I can't remember quite what's on that 990. I'd like to see that before we make a decision.
I think the one for the Y is the Middle Tennessee Y.
Yeah.
It's the full Y.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
the full.
just
They don't
this
do anything
location
for the
for
lower.
Well,
sure.
you don't have to run this if you don't want to. If you don't like something you see in the 990, if there's something that
Are we
looks
gonna run
low,
it for everybody?
you don't have to. It's submitted. If there's, you see something in your 990, like $66,000 listed as other, when it's actually somebody's being paid, but we don't know who it's being paid to, you
Okay.
could run this, and then you'll know whether you want to give any more money to an organization that pays their wife, their sister, their kid
Can we-
$66,000.
I guess my question to Ms. Barty is, can we have to do it for all if we're gonna do it for one, correct?
That is correct.
It's fair.
You don't have to run the report. We request this. If we see something wrong in the 990, then we can report it. You
We
don't have
can't,
to
we
run
can't
the report.
differentiate between the
Yes, you can. If we're
nonprofits.
asking for a report, we don't have to run it.
Okay. Our city attorney, Ms. Barty? If we're gonna make an ordinance,
If we are going to adopt a policy, then that policy has to apply for all parties, all persons.
We're applying that they submit this.
Yeah, what he's saying is everybody would be required to submit it with their request for funding,
Everybody is.
but what we do with it, you,
is up to us?
is up to us.
It's up to us. I mean, they're
But if
submitting
we-
the form as requested. What we do with the form is to our prerogative as the holders of the purse strings doling out the money.
Aren't we required, if we're gonna request it, we'd be required to look at it?
And I think what I'm hearing, he's saying the option is there if we think we need to look at it further by them
Well,
submitting this.
some of
form.
these nonprofits have no salaries. It will be zero. So that would be pointless. But when I came across very recently a nonprofit that was paying that kind of money, and it was listed in the column as other, that I want to know about that
To someone we've given money to.
every year. Well, not recently, but it's somebody that we have in the past and probably will in the future.
Okay?
No one should feel offended to really show where the money goes. Okay, my little project lot was about $1 million nonprofit, and I was getting state money, so I had to submit this. So it keeps everybody straight.
Okay.
And so if they're legit, then there's no problem. Everybody.
All right, further discussion?
Ready to vote.
Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Schneider,
No.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Trotter,
No,
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
passed 5-2.
Okay. 3.6, discuss and possible take action on a request by the First Presbyterian Church to assist the cost of paving their parking lot. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Holt?
Okay, Mr. David Thomas from the church is here tonight if you have any specific questions. But they came to the city, they went to the county to ask for some assistance with their parking lot. And the city employees, we can't park on the street because it's 2-hour parking all around here. So city employees do use that parking lot, county employees use that parking lot. Retailers, customers use that parking lot. Rotary uses it on Wednesdays. I had to throw that in. Kiwanis doesn't. But anyway, there's a lot of usage on that lot. And so the county's budget committee, which is no reason why we would necessarily do the same thing, but they approved back in December, I think, to pay 1/3 of the cost of the paving. And so in looking at the numbers, and we asked them to get several proposals to make sure, that they were looking at something that's within reason. And the one that they came up with that's the, and it's revised from what you have in your packet. I think the one in the packet was $34,000. This one is $35,935. And If we split it 3 ways, it would be, of course, about $12,000. We do have the money in Mr. Ellis's street department budget under the road materials. We can't make a payment directly for the lot because we don't own it, so we couldn't pay, and we can't pay a church directly. So our city attorney, I'll let her address this, has said that we could possibly do a pretty generic lease if we wanted to pursue this for about $12,000, which I think it's $12,000, it would last for years. Is that correct, Mr. Thomas? So I think it's probably a pretty wise thing to do.
Okay. Ms. Barty?
Because we cannot make payments to a church. We cannot directly fund a church under the Constitution. A solution would be for us to lease a portion of this parking lot, and our portion of the lease would be the repair cost. But then we would have a right to use that property, for our citizens to use that property, and our employees to use that property.
Okay. Mr. Hubbard, you have the
Ever
first
since
question.
I've been on the board, we definitely use it for parking employees, so.
Yes.
I think it's a good deal. That's
Okay.
what I want to say. That's been 30 years.
I know when I drive by there in the mornings, I see employees parking there. Anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion.
Ready to vote?
Call the roll, please.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris. Harris.
I have a question before we
Okay.
vote. Do we not have to make a motion that we enter into a lease agreement with them? Are we just saying?
I think it would be the right
Is that-
thing. I
is
think
that
it would
what
be the
this
right
is
thing to
already
do.
stating?
Yeah,
I think we have to make a,
We opened the floor for discussion of this item, so now there needs to be a
Motion to enter a lease agreement.
therefore make a motion that we enter into a lease agreement with First Presbyterian Springfield, that we lease 1/3 of this parking lot.
Second.
okay. Any more discussion?
Is it acceptable to the church?
Acceptable to the church? Mr. Thomas?
I'm not voting member of session, we have to vote on that.
Will you please come to the mic?
Yeah. I'll pass this information along to our church session, and they would be the ones to have to make this final decision. Of course, we've allowed everyone to park there for the last 32 years without any lease agreement. So I would like to see them continue on, but I don't know how they'll vote on that. But we'll get this information session and go from there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But per our city attorney, we're being told this is the only way we're able
Yes.
to participate in this, is through just a
And if
simple.
they relay the message that this is the only way the funds can come, that might help make the
Leave my
decision.
motion as it is, and that we enter into a lease with him for a third of this
Second.
property.
Okay. Ms. Barty, you have something else you want to say before?
I think we need to negotiate a lease with them versus enter into a lease, because we don't have a written document in front of us at this time.
They'll have to bring that back.
So
Okay.
negotiate the lease.
But can we still have to vote?
That's
to
correct.
enter into negotiation.
That's correct.
So that's what this motion is.
That's correct.
That we enter into negotiation with First
The maker of the
Presbyterian.
motion is good with that?
Yes.
And the second?
It's good.
Okay. Any more discussion? No more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg. Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Finance Department to approve a one-year contract extension with Thurman Campbell Group, PLC, of Clarksville, Tennessee, in the amount of $56,000 for the audit for the financial statements of the City of Springfield. Do I hear a motion?
I move for approval because they did an excellent job.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion?
And I ask why it's just is that how we do it year to year, or is it normal?
Ms. Crockett?
I was
Oh,
gonna
I'm
say,
sorry.
it's usually like a 3-year, and normally, we probably would have gone out this year, but there's so much going on and a couple of things that Ms. Crockett would like to do before we change auditors, so we thought one more year would be a good thing to do.
And this is at the same rate? as
Same
last
rate,
year?
same firm.
Other questions, gentlemen? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg, Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
Thank you. 3.8, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Gas Department to approve change order 1 in the amount of $214,262 to the Morris Wall Construction Company, Inc. Contracts for Electrolux Access Road project to accommodate the relocation of the Electrolux gas service and metering station. Electrolux will pay the cost of the gas relocation project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? I know you've read this in your packet. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Gregg, Harris,
Yes.
passed 7-0.
Thank you. 3.9, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Electric Department to approve and a revision of the conditions of service policy for street lights. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner. Do you have any questions for Mr. Gardner? Gentlemen?
It's not really changing anything except for the fixtures, right?
Yeah, it's the same fixtures that we put all over town on the Greenway and on the downtown project. The Hall of Fame fixtures, we've standardized on those over the last several years, and the fixtures that we originally put out in Legacy are no longer available. So we've been putting these in every underground subdivision.
Okay. Questions while he's at the podium?
Good job.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner? No more questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg, Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
3.10, discuss and possible take action on allocating funds for the bicentennial events and items. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Holt, our city manager.
Okay, we've been talking about the bicentennial a lot, and there are many, many events planned for this year. The first one, of course, will be next month, March 28th, at the Springfield Middle School, and I think we've talked about that a little bit. In your agenda packet, I included a memo with some of the things that we're working on, and one of the things that is a signature concert, or a concert with a premium entertainer, and we were looking at May, and now we're looking at September. But what this is all doing is we need some funds, and we're requesting $75,000. Now, that can be split between the general fund and the utilities, but what well, most likely this fiscal year, and we don't have anything budgeted, we will probably have to pay out some money, and there will be funds coming in for different things. There will be T-shirt sales, there will be DVD sales, there'll be the special edition of the newspaper, there will be ads that a portion of the sales will be going to support this bicentennial funds and all of the events. So it's working across the board with the schools, the city, a lot of the businesses. We're going to have sponsorships for the concert, so we will have all kinds of money coming in, but it is the City of Springfield's bicentennial. So we've done, like the first event, there will be sponsors. Walmart's giving away the gifts for the fifth graders that picked the designs on the T-shirts. So there's no real expense on the first event, and there were other things where there will not be, but again, there are going to be quite a few things where we need some funding, but primarily it's going to be the big concert. Now the concert, I said in the memo that it would be 50,000 plus. By the time we look at the sound equipment stage, we're looking at probably an additional 30,000. It'll probably be $100,000 to get just the concert, so in the fall. But now, again, we're looking for sponsors. We have some that we think will be able to donate fair, sizable amounts. But don't get that excited, Mr. Harris.
Buddy Bruce is.
Arrange for it.
Maybe he's gonna sponsor.
But there is nothing budgeted. And so what we thought we would do, hopefully you all will approve this, is we would take it from our fund balance. And then we would end up doing a budget amendment, and we would start next month with our 3 readings on the budget. So it's a worthwhile cause. It's not gonna come around again for 50 years. And we need to do the right thing, and it really is an exciting time. We're starting to get some publicity about it.
Well, and I'm starting to get phone calls about what are we doing? So, yes, Mr. Harris.
It's a celebration for the city of Springfield. And as we have, as a board, don't support this, then let's see how we can ask anybody else to support it. The board does. I'm in favor.
It's a good point, good point. Yes, sir, Mr.
This is our biggie.
Yep.
This is, as Bruce said, we got to market our city. Am I right, Bruce?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this
good
is
event.
a historical time, and you all will
Yes.
be in the historical process and the historical records, so,
It's
for
safe-
one reason or another, so let's hope it's
It's
the
safe
right.
to say we want to do it again.
That's another good point.
None of us.
They've had lots of good points down here on this side, gentlemen.
They always do.
Okay. Anybody like to step up and sponsor tonight that's sitting in the audience?
So do
So we
need
put some more money back in the fund balance?
Do we need a motion for this?
Yes.
And you're asking for 75,000?
75,000, we will split.
So I make a motion that we support this in the amount of $75,000 to establish this in support of the celebration of City of Springfield bicentennial.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg, Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.11, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Water and the Wastewater Department to approve the demolition of the old water treatment plant. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Kind of hurts. Ms. Holt?
Okay, we might want to call on Mr. Beers. Of course, what happened is this 100,000 is included as an alternate in the work for the equalization tank, which is sewer funds. Now, this is the water treatment plant, the old, which means this is water, which means it would have to come out of the water budget. So, Mr. Beers was going to look to see where he could find $100,000.
I can find that.
And did you come up with all those answers, Mr.
I
Beers?
can find that. I can find that. If I want to speak a little bit on that, if you don't mind.
Well, no, I mean,
This was actually constructed in 1948, and it was abandoned in 1978 when the new plant was built there at the Red River. We did put in an additive alternate for the demolition on that, like you said, in the contract there. Sent out some pictures. Did you send those out?
It's in their packet.
We do feel like it's a hazard. If you saw the pictures, people have
No,
been
if you
getting in
pass
there.
it every day like I do.
It's past its prime there as far as, and we checked in, there's no historical connection or ties to there. We just feel that it'd be, to be taken down is what we'd like to do. We're asking the board's permission to do that.
Okay.
the
Question?
question is where you wanted to fund it from,
I would probably have to take that out of an item on capital.
when you're capital?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So you, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mr.
Not
Hubbard?
probably. I would.
Mr. Hubbard?
Yes.
What is it? What is the other hole that they're digging right beside it? I was there this morning. They were drilling. Is it part of the?
For the tank. Is that what you're making reference to?
No, I'm talking about.
Now, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking to. I haven't been there in a couple days.
I think
so.
you're talking about the tank.
The tank, probably. It's real close. It's just past the old water plant is where they're doing the work.
Yeah.
Close to the
Yeah.
front
That's
for
right.
the equalization tank.
So that's what. Okay.
Yes, a portion of the tank will be underground, so yes,
That's
that's
what I
probably
was
what
talking
you're
about.
excavating
That they were
for.
digging. I was wondering.
Okay. Other questions? No other questions? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider. Head.
Yes.
Gregg. Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.12, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Water and Wastewater Department to approve the proposal of the engineering services by Griggs Malone, Inc. in the amount of $84,500 for the preliminary planning and equipment selection, design, and bid documents, and limited construction phase assistance from the wastewater treatment plant screen aeration upgrade project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Terry's still standing up here, and he'll answer any questions you have.
I'll just add, this is in the budget.
Yes.
It's part of $1 million under depreciation.
Okay. No questions? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.13, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Water and Wastewater Department to approve the proposal for the GRW Engineering, Inc. in the amount of $32,500 for the creation of plans and specifications for submitting to TDEC, advertising and bidding for the Betts Road Water Tank Painting Project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
3.14, discuss and possible take action on a request from the Water and the Wastewater Department to approve an amendment to the current geotechnical service contract with American Engineering, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $50,485 for the Carrs Creek and Sulphur Fork Creek wastewater storage facility project. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.15, discuss and possible take action on a request from the wastewater department for their approval of a contract with Cleary Construction for emergency sewer main installation at the Farmers Bank located on Memorial Boulevard. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and I want to state for the record that I do work for Farmers Bank, as most of you know, but that is the law. I need to state that for the record. This has nothing to do with the Farmers Bank. Any discussion?
It needs to be taken care of.
Please.
This was an emergency, obviously, and the quote was for about $68,000 to do it in 6 days. They did it in 4 days, just over 4 days, and it came in at $46,000. So it's $20,000 under what the proposal was. So we were pretty excited about that. So Mr. Beers Cruz worked with Cleary Construction to get that done at a reduced rate. So we're deeply appreciative.
Okay?
May I just,
Yes.
we have an impending amount of water, so will be a lot of flooding in that particular area. We just about
Okay,
got-
hold on. Will you please come back to the mic?
Since it's projected 6 or 7 inches of rain.
Well, I mean, I'll go back to if you read everything in there, it wasn't directly related to the sewer there. The stormwater runoff is back to Mr. Ellis's there where we had the collapse.
Mr. Ellis,
there.
you want to come on up to the mic
You
too?
want to address that one, Mr.
This
Ellis?
may be a joint effort.
No, ours was a sewer correction, it's what we made.
All of their flooding was sewer related. Ours is a stormwater, which is continuing to flood till we get the tunnel on the track.
That's all I kind of want to know.
It's in the
Should
process,
expect-
engineering working on. We hope we finally got the easement that we need on the north side to find the line. I'll tell you tomorrow, the next day, if we get the letter back. But that's all ours there.
Okay. Further questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris,
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.16, discuss and possible take action on a request from Alderman Sneed regarding the joint airport appointments. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
Move to discuss.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Sneed?
Move to appoint Mr. Jeff Hardy to replace a request by Airport Board Member Marvin Smith. At his request, proceed to find a replacement.
Okay. Motion on the floor to replace Mr. Marvin Smith by Mr. Jeff Hardy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. My question is, Mr. Hardy lives outside the city limits of Springfield. I believe the airport has to appoint someone. No. Ms.
Okay.
Holt?
Well, and again, our city attorney can address this. The airport board was sent 2 resumes. One is a Springfield resident and one is not. And we will probably have 2 vacancies at some point. Mr. Smith, I did talk to him yesterday, and he confirmed that he wanted to come off the board. So that is a Springfield-only appointment. Now, if you look at our code, it says that the city appointees, the 2 of them have to be a city resident. And if you look at the bylaws say that the airport board should make recommendations or nominations to this board to appoint. So it gets kind of legal.
Okay.
But I really think that the city appointment has to live inside the city limits. And I think from what I've heard, Mr. Sneed's recommendation would be a good one, but I think it would need to be either a county or a joint appointment.
Okay. Ms. Barty?
I believe that Ms. Holt is correct. If you look at section 2505 of our municipal code, it references qualifications of members of the board. It further references for the appointments 2506. 2506 sets out the 7 positions of the board with position 2, position 4 being a city resident appointed by the city board.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor that Mr. Sneed he's got a first and a second to appoint Mr. Hardy. And Mr. Hardy's address is what, Mr. Sneed? Does he?
Cross
Plains?
Cross Plains?
Cross Plains, but what you're referencing in the original charter, in the original motion was when the board was initially set up. What you're reading beside the city of resident was for a 2-year term. It's when it was originally being set up. I don't see that this would curtail the board from picking any qualified candidate.
Ms. Barty?
I believe if you take 2504, which is the members appointed in terms with 2505, and 2506, which section 2505 references 2506, it is not specific to the initial board members. 2505 is not. It talks about the requirements. So my interpretation is that 2506 and that the city appointee should be a resident of the city of Springfield.
And that's the way we've always done it.
Okay. Well, and
And I don't want to change it, okay?
I believe they should live in the city of Springfield.
Exactly.
Mr. Harris?
Does that, even though on that appointment that it is a city appointment, is it still based on a recommendation from the airport board to us, or is that totally our decision?
I think the airport board should make that recommendation.
They have not.
Well, it says should. Well, no, Mr. Smith only told me yesterday that he really wanted off.
And we don't have that in writing yet?
And I don't know that, he's 97 years old, and
So we're not gonna get that.
so I didn't ask him to put it in writing.
Okay.
So, I mean, he served for a long time, and
He's been on since the original board.
he's done a great job, and so he's just said he's ready to come off. So I think that's official notice, and I documented that.
All right.
So,
But in your opinion, you're thinking a recommendation.
Hold on, Mr. Harris still has the floor.
The recommendation should come from the airport board, not meaning we have to accept their recommendation.
right, exactly.
But it should come from them.
And they don't meet again until April. And so 2 resumes were sent to them. I really think that both of them can get on the board.
Well, and I know Mr. Hardy, and great gentleman, he just doesn't live in the city of Springfield. Mr. Sneed?
If this fails, I'll come back with an incidental motion to change the ordinance to allow this. We're stretched to find qualified candidates within the city limits. So if this fails, or if it passes, I'll have an incidental motion to follow up.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we have to vote for the incident.
Can I make a motion just to put it off to the April calendar, after the April calendar?
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor
No, there's a,
for you, we have a motion on
we
the
have a
floor
motion on
now.
the floor to appoint Mr. Hardy.
Right.
He's making a motion to defer.
No, I didn't.
No, he,
Now, we already
Ms.
done the
Barty.
motion.
Mr. Trotter's wanting to defer.
And you will not consent to the deferment?
No. That would be a postponement, not
Okay.
deferral.
So we have to move forward with this.
That's correct.
Okay, any more discussion on the subject?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Sneed.
There's a lot of problems going on at that airport. They need qualified people now. I've got reams of history and things that I know more about that airport board than the airport board members do.
Yeah, we know.
And
Okay.
we need to make this appointment.
All right.
Personally, I don't
Harris?
have any problem with Mr. Hardy as far as I know, but
No.
what I'm hearing from our staff and from our city attorney, that this should be an appointment that has a City of Springfield residence inside the city limits.
Mayor,
Yes.
I can't withdraw the motion because it belongs to the body, but we'll make a motion to withdraw the main motion on the floor. If you want to vote on it.
Okay, so the main motion he's withdrawing. Will the second has to
You got to
agree?
vote on it.
You have to vote to allow him to withdraw.
Okay. Ready for a vote?
Ready for vote.
Does he have to have a second?
Does he need a second?
Second for the withdrawal of the motion.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Howard?
He just made this.
Yeah,
Okay,
for the withdrawal.
all right.
Name and call vote.
Roll call.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
make a motion to change the city ordinance.
Motion to change.
05.12, section
Okay,
Exhibit A, to strike the word city and add in its place, city or county.
okay. Do I hear a second to change our ordinance?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Ms. Barty, you look like you want to speak on the subject.
I want to look at the agenda item.
This will be an incidental motion to the main motion.
Which was withdrew.
It is my opinion that we do not have sufficient notice to amend this ordinance.
Okay. Okay, so we'll have to put that on, if Mr. Sneed would have to put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
That's
Point of order, Mayor.
Sir.
Can the city attorney reference what rule you were looking at in Robert's Rules of Order or state law that will come to that conclusion?
I do not believe that the public, I cannot give a specific citation. I do not believe that the public would have sufficient expectation that an ordinance or a part of the municipal code would be amended as associated with the appointment of a board member.
Do you have Robert's Rules of Order? I see you have a copy of it. You reference page 100, main motion, and then the incidental motion.
This, Mr. Sneed, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but this is a situation where the state law and the notice requirements would be, would trump Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Barty.
I'll have Ms. Holt
Put it on
add
the agenda.
that, and also the issue of recalling board members, which I sent her an email to add to the agenda that has been omitted February 5th, but it's not on the agenda. We'll have both those on there next month.
Okay, moving on.
Let me say something on that. That is what is on the agenda. The February 5th, if you look in your agenda packet, that is what is on there. Your
3.16.
This
February
is a copy
5th.
of the email, that's all.
That's what you sent me, plus all the backup documentation is in your packet.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
to change this would affect the appointments of all the other boards.
Okay.
And this was done simply to keep Springfield residents dealing with Springfield business.
Okay.
Okay? Advising us, not county people to advise us on Springfield's business. And that's why it was there. I'm not knocking his qualification. I'm not knocking his qualification. But that was the reason it was set up this way, okay?
Right.
All right.
To be advisory, Springfield citizens to be advisors to the council persons.
Okay, Mr. Trotter.
And
And then I'll go to Mr. Steen.
And because I have no objection to the man, but
No.
wouldn't a deferment give, Ms. Holt said, maybe give both of them an option to get on there? If you put it off to after April?
Well, they don't even meet again until April, so
That's
the
what I
board's
said.
not going to be doing
If you
anything.
put it off to April, wouldn't that maybe give both of them an option to come on the board?
Well, I could have
could.
tabled the motion,
Okay.
or postponed it, but it would still been out of order
Right.
for what we need to do, which is change the ordinance.
Okay, so we'll
We're
put that on
stra-
the
we're
agenda.
stra- When I took a vacancy on the board, it had been vacant for months, because, one, you can't find people to do it, because it's volunteer, and two, who would want to be on the board that's being sued right now? I mean, and there's not like a lot of people knocking on the door to do this, and the existing members on that board, I've asked for their resignation to my,
Okay, Mr.
don't-
Sneed, I don't think you have the ability, we are a group here, and we vote. And I will move on to the consent doc.
Well, may I have permission to speak to the lawyer?
Sure.
To go along with his request, will it not alter all the other boards that we have established, where we can go out in the county and get other people and appoint them to the other board?
You want to look at the ordinance reference to be changed?
We discussing something that's not on the
Yeah, we're going to move on to the consent doc. We can come back, Mr. Sneed's going to put this on the agenda for next month, correct,
I'll come
Mr.
back to the
Sneed?
same conversation. You ought to make sure you look at the charter, make sure you look at the municipal codes, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm trying to open up the.
Okay,
can.
so, Ms. Barty, we need a ruling. We have a motion on the floor. He asked for it to be withdrawn, right?
We voted on that.
We voted.
And we
But then
voted,
he made a motion.
And then
to
I made a
change the
motion, and it's been second to change the
Yeah.
ordinance.
and you have ruled as our city attorney that we can't do that.
The motion is not proper because notice is not, I do not believe notice is sufficient to discuss that item before the board.
Point of order, Mayor.
Okay.
Point
Mr.
of
Sneed?
order. The second motion is an incidental motion to the main motion that was first.
Right.
It's legal. And she's not showing us any proof other than opinion. And we've been down this road before, bad opinions that caused issues. And I think I outlined that before.
Okay? So, Ms. Barty,
Hold on one
do,
second.
okay. Give her just a second to make a decision. And then we will move on to the consent docs.
Staying with us.
$844,103.
Okay? So that motion will die, Ms. Barty, because of your
Yes.
ruling. Okay, we'll move on to the consent doc.
Move for approval of the entire
Okay?
consent.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Point of
Call
order, Mayor.
call the roll, please.
We had a motion on the floor in a second, and we're not even going to handle that.
It dies because of her ruling.
It died at first
Just because she
of the ruling.
says, quotes a statute, it dies.
Well,
Would you like to vote on it?
let me say also, we accepted her opinion on the Duke Court thing. I didn't really care for what that opinion was, but she states that as our city attorney, and we accepted that opinion, and we have to accept this opinion, I would feel.
There wasn't a motion on the floor to do anything, it was just discussed. I've made a motion to change the ordinance, something specific. And it's an incidental motion to the main motion, which the incidental motion rose out of discussion from the main motion. It's an
Ms.
incidental
Barty,
motion.
shall we go back and vote on that?
You may vote on it if you so choose. It is my opinion that
Thank
that
you.
motion is not proper.
Okay.
It is less than notice.
Call for the vote.
Okay? Okay, we've got, hold on just one second. We've got the consent doc. We have can we finish up with that and we'll go back? Do we agree?
Was there a second on the consent?
Now, let's take his first.
Okay.
It's on the floor.
Hold the consent on
I
it.
Okay.
move to
Put the hold on the
Move to
consent.
to defer the motion to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
What was that motion that statute, 88?
Okay, consent docs on the floor.
Hold on. We need a second to his motion to defer.
We need a second on his motion to defer.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so now we go back to the consent doc. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay, we're going back to Mr. Sneed's motion, and he got a second. Any more discussion? Do you know what you're voting on?
No.
Okay. Hold on just a second. Ms. Prickles gonna read it.
I don't have it written down.
Okay, but she doesn't have it written down.
We just voted to defer this to the end of the meeting.
We're at the end of the meeting. We're back to it.
Oh, you didn't do the consent?
We did.
You did the
We
consent.
voted on it. We're ready for, back to yours.
Ms. Barty? I was trying to pull up that code. Can you please cite that again?
$844,101.
$844. 8-44?
I didn't write it down.
Please read it for us. Please read that.
What was the last three digits?
103, but it is the 101.
Ms. Barty, do you have his motion written down?
No.
Not as motion, but read
the section.
the other.
What she said right here.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay. Ms. Barty is going to read it. Mr. Hubbard is requested that it be read as record in the minutes.
I have it, and this meeting was, I'm sorry.
Eight 143, notice of public meetings. A, notice of regular meetings. Any such governmental body which holds a meeting previously scheduled by statute, ordinance, or resolution shall give adequate public notice of such meeting. B,
Point of order. Before going forward, has this meeting been advertised?
it has.
Did it meet 103-A?
Yes, with a specific agenda.
Okay.
B, notice of special meetings. Any such governmental body which holds a meeting not previously scheduled by statute, ordinance, or resolution, or for which notice is not already provided by law, shall give adequate public notice of such meeting.
This point of order. This is not a special meeting. That does not apply.
You are correct. C, the notice requirements of this part are in addition to and not in substitution of any other notice required by law. It is required under the public notice statute that the public have a reasonable and adequate notice of what topic might be discussed by the board. Based upon the agenda item, it is my opinion that there is not sufficient notice that an ordinance dealing with the airport board might be amended.
Okay?
Mayor,
Will you
point of order.
Will you state?
The 3.6, discuss and possibly take action on Alderman State's request regarding joint airport board appointments.
Airport board appointments. Appointments meaning nominating someone to be on them, not changing the ordinance, correct?
Well,
And
when something comes up, it's called an incidental motion. The subject of airport board and its appointments have been publicly advertised.
Okay? Ms. Barty?
There was a question about some specifics of residency. That's what's called an incidental motion. It falls under the main motion, and I respectfully disagree with council that this
Okay.
would not be proper.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the city attorney has been asked and has stated her opinion. We still have the option if we want to vote on it or not.
Sure.
So why can we not just vote on it?
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote?
And this is to change the ordinance. that
This is to
correct?
change the ordinance. Mr. Sneed, will you state your motion? Who seconded the motion? Head. Mr. Head. State your motion before we vote.
I move to amend our ordinance 05-12 to change the term of city resident appointed by city board to city or county resident be appointed by
Okay.
city board
All right.
in reference to Tennessee Code 88, in reference to TCA Code 8-44-103A, notice of regular meetings, any such governmental body which holds a meeting previously scheduled by statute, ordinance, or resolution shall give adequate public notice of such meetings, which this
That's part of your ordinance?
which this meeting has been advertised.
Okay. You have stated your motion to change the ordinance. Okay? Does everyone agree? Everyone understand what they're voting on?
Ready to vote now.
Okay? Ready to call the roll? Last chance. Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
No.
Hubbard,
No.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
No.
Sneed,
Yes.
Gregg,
No.
Harris,
No.
Thank you.
fails 2 to 5.
Our city manager's report, Ms. Gina Holt.
Well, I do not have a report, so I know you all are disappointed. I'll just say, it's supposed to be raining, it's supposed to rain a lot this week, so please be careful, watch for flooding, especially around the railroad track on Memorial Boulevard.
The whole
Meeting's adjourned.